Chapter 7. Daniel Peterson. I was aware of someone shaking me before I woke up. It was annoying, and I could already feel the nasty hangover. I tried to pull the sheets over me, but they were violently ripped from my hands. Bright light suddenly came on, and I rolled over, trying to bury my face in the pillow. My head hurt bad, and I just wanted to sleep.
You have to get up.
I heard Atomic Girl's voice. Tell, Walter, I'll be down in an hour. My voice came muffled from the pillow. Give me just a few more minutes.
Walter called an emergency meeting. The others have already left the hotel. You need to get up. Now!
Screw the ghosts. I don't fucking care. I'm sure the Blue Justice can handle him. I lifted my head and blinked my eyes. There was more than a little resentment dripping from my voice.
It's not the ghost. There's been a Class 5 attack on the city.
That got my attention. I tried to sit up, only to feel a sharp pain behind my eyes. I leaned back against the headboard as I collected myself. I saw a blurry Atomic Girl come into focus in my bedroom. She was in full costume. Sarah wore a green and black spandex uniform. It was skin-tight and honestly a little too revealing. On her chest was a black symbol of an atom, and her blonde hair was pulled back with a green headband. She looked cute when she was angry, especially when she scrunched up her button nose. You serious? There really is a Class 5? I asked, focusing again.
Yes.
I groaned and swung my legs off the bed. I tried to stand up, but my feet gave out and Sarah rushed to catch me. I noticed 4 or 5 empty liquor bottles on the floor, along with a considerable amount of vomit. Holding my head in my hands, I desperately wanted the pounding to stop.
Daniel.
I know. I held up my hand. I know. Just give me a minute.
We can't be late. The car is waiting to take us back to StarCorp.
Well, I burped a little. That's the neat part of teleportation. It just so happened that I was still in full costume from last night. And as luck would have it, my uniform was miraculously spotless. Not that I could recall anything, mind you. I just knew the smell of vomit wasn't coming from me. Say what you will about my constitution, my aim was impeccable. After all, a superhero can't get caught with throw-up on himself. Otherwise, he might look undignified. I waved my arm, attempting to regain some feeling in it. I think I slept on it funny.
Daniel!
I ignored her and placed my hand on Atomic Girl's shoulder. Keeping my eyes closed, I followed my usual route from the hotel to the hero's room. Our workplace was situated a few blocks away, making it a bit out of range for a single jump. Quickly taking short stops at a few rooftops, we were back in the Defender's Tower. A blink later, we were in the hero's room before anyone had even arrived. Atomic Girl glanced around, shocked that we had arrived so quickly.
How many times?
How long it took me to figure out the best routes? Shorter than you would think. I blinked my heavy eyes and I left her there. Suddenly, I was in Cheryl's empty office and I began brewing a cup of coffee. Little was it known that Cheryl had purchased a 10,000 credit coffee maker shortly after going on vacation to the Bahamas. Hopefully, the small dent I created in the office supply budget would go unnoticed. While waiting, I teleported to the bathroom to do my business and splashed my face with water. Returning to my full cup, I teleported 3 floors down to the lunchroom to grab a bagel. Back up in the hero's room again, still no one had arrived. Atomic Girl had taken a seat at our mighty conference table with her arms crossed. She watched as I yanked out a chair with my foot and collapsed into the seat. Throwing my legs on the glass table, I enjoyed a delicious coffee and bagel.
I know you hate it here, but people are getting hurt,
she said.
Can you take this a bit more seriously?
If there's a Class 5 running around, I said with a mouthful of bagel, there's absolute jack you or I can do about it. The only one who might be able to put up that kind of firepower is the Blue Justice. We're effectively on the bench for this one.
We can at least try to save lives.
When Walter assigns me to civilian duty, I'll do my job like everyone else. Until then, you won't see me rushing out to help people. Getting a bagel and coffee isn't any different from when Walter makes his pose for photo shoots. Sarah sighed.
I know. You're right. But we have an obligation to make this situation as least bad as possible. And it makes me feel guilty.
Guilt is precisely what you should feel. At least that was what I wanted to tell her. But I just didn't have the heart to do it. Sarah wasn't a bad person. She was trapped in the same situation I was. The difference was that she tried to play along to see if she could make things better. I disagreed with the approach, but she was trying to help in her own slightly naive way. I took my legs off the conference table and wiped the crumbs off the glass. Straightening my purple costume, I tried to make myself slightly more presentable.
Thank you,
she said. I suppressed the urge to roll my eyes. I finished my bagel, and just as I was halfway through my coffee, the rest of the urban defenders walked in. Blue Justice didn't even glance our way as he took his seat at the second spot at the table. Yellow Bolt followed closely behind, though waving to us as he sat further down. The final member of the team, the Ranger, was the youngest of us all. Ranger emerged from the foolish idea that normals could be superheroes too. It was a tale as old as the Democratic Union. But no matter how many times people got splattered, they couldn't help but chuck more guys into dangerous positions they couldn't have been in to begin with. The Ranger, Carl, was 17 years old. They plucked him out of enlistment because he was good-looking. Never mind his abysmal physical scores, his shoddy marksmanship, or his lack of confidence. The worst part was that he knew it. He barely said a word during meetings, and thankfully, Walter never assigned him to do any actual grunt work. He was a prop for the media page, and that was it. I felt bad for him in so many ways. It was one thing to be a celebrity. It was quite another to be the useless one amongst the celebrities. We all sat in silence, unsure of what to say to each other. I glanced over at the Blue Justice. He appeared to be formulating a rousing speech in his head, but just as he opened his mouth, Walter walked in. We all looked down on him for our position at the table, yet he somehow made each of us squirm in our seats, except for the Blue Justice.
At 10:30 today, there was an incident on 27th Street.
Walter climbed the steps and took his seat at the head of the table.
A homeless man suddenly demonstrated Class 5 superpowers and escaped. He is currently at large, and all attempts to track him down have failed.
Walter clicked a remote, and a projection appeared before us. It was a video recording of a newscast. A woman narrated in front of a green screen with a city street in the background.
As you can see, the danger to Precinct 11 is catastrophic. The criminal, known as Adam Mason, was arrested for trespassing and public intoxication. Upon being read his rights, the individual flew into a violent rage and murdered his lawyer in cold blood. His rampage has so far claimed over a dozen lives and left more injured. Social services have confirmed that it is Adam Mason, but it appears that this individual was never on the registry. We've reached out to the ASA for...
Walter turned off the newscast. The conference room fell into dead silence. I glanced from Walter to the urban defenders. For the first time in my life, I saw Blue Justice visibly unnerved. I couldn't blame him, since he was the only one on the team capable of standing toe-to-toe with a Class 5. It would be on him to bring Super Hobo to justice. So how does this affect our media campaign on the Ghost? I asked, genuinely curious about Walter's game plan.
Effect?
Walter laughed bitterly.
He killed it stone dead. No one will care about the Ghost now that we have Ultraman on our hands. And no, that is not what the media will be calling him.
But isn't this a good thing? Yellow Bolt asked. This is way more dramatic than some Class 2 supervillain. Walter looked at Yellow Bolt like the idiot he was.
The Ghost is a non-threat. He was a bone to toss to our bored audience. This is a Class 5. Do you think the higher-ups are going to let us bag him? We're going to get fucking steamrolled by a B-rank team, or worse, if this catches national attention.
I saw the numbers playing in Walter's head in real time, the millions of lost credits and advertising revenue being gobbled up by a bigger name. It was his worst nightmare. And on the other end of the stick, the Blue Justice visibly eased up. But only if they get to him first, I suggested, teasing our leader. If we track this Adam Mason down fast, we can nip it in the bud and get all the credit.
If I knew where he was, that's where you would be.
Walter snapped.
City is being ridiculous with its surveillance system. Billions of credits in tax money, and they can't track down one stupid oboe.
He slammed his fist on the table.
Is there anything in his background? Maybe something that can clue us in on what he's planning?
Atomic Girl asked. I know some people can glare daggers, but Walter genuinely looked like he was about to strangle Atomic Girl and toss her out the window for good measure. The problem was that none of us were supposed to ask questions. There was no real decision-making or investigation meant to occur in this room. That responsibility belonged to Walter's staff. We were supposed to obey orders and look pretty. And you know what? I was perfectly fine with this arrangement. Let them try to sort out this mess. I hoped they wouldn't ever find this Adam Mason, whoever he was. I certainly didn't want to fight him.
What do you need us to do?
The Blue Justice asked, hoping to calm Walter down.
You, the Ranger, and Yellowbolt are going to be giving interviews. We need to get our faces in the news as much as possible. If we can get in front of this early, it'll make it harder for anyone to sideline us. This is our city, and any of the vultures who want this story need to remember that.
How about me and Atomic Girl? I asked, groaning inwardly that I was probably getting put on field duty again.
You two are staying at the tower. We're keeping all our pieces close. I lose one of you out there and the whole op looks sloppy, and I don't have backups waiting in the wings.
I rolled my eyes. Thanks for the concern, Walter. Not that I minded. Truth was, I was more than happy to crawl back into bed. I wasn't in the mood to chase a raging lunatic through the streets, not today. Not with this headache. Sure, I felt a twinge of guilt for the city-set grunts getting tossed into the meat grinder while we kicked back at the tower. But that's life in City 57. Superheroes do the PR, look good in a cape, and let the foot soldiers take the bruises. And honestly, if you're still signing up for City Second this day and age, you're basically volunteering to get yourself killed. The rest of the meeting was relatively short. Cheryl swept in and handed scripts out to the unlucky few doing interviews. Walter threw a few more verbal grenades, most of them aimed at me, and then stormed off to wherever he was going next. The others filed out while Atomic Girl and I stayed in the empty conference room, surrounded by cold coffee and the faint scent of stress.
I just wish we could do something,
she quietly said. Yep.
Do you think?
I raised my finger. Before you finish that thought. I teleported over to her, leaving my watch in the chair. A few seconds later, we stood on the rooftop of the Defender's Tower. It wasn't much more than a flat stretch of gravel, but we didn't have to worry about being overheard. The answer is no, I said. I can't believe I'm saying this, and I know it's rich coming from me, but please don't do anything stupid.
Why'd you bring me up here if the answer is no?
Because you're going to argue with me anyway. Atomic Girl threw up her hands.
Listen, I'm not asking you to be a superhero, the Nighthawk or whatever. I'm just saying that this is no way to live.
I could feel the frustration in her voice. I know. Believe me, I know. But there are certain lines even I don't cross. One of those is screwing around when Walter's mad. Atomic Girl snorted.
You can tell the difference?
We stared at each other in silence for a long minute. I cracked first, and soon we were both giggling like maniacs on the rooftop. We looked over City 57, the rotting corpse of a city it was. I wondered if anyone out there still lived a good life. Not a rich life or safe one, just good. Was there someone, anyone out there who was happy? Maybe happy wasn't the word. Maybe that word didn't mean anything anymore. Was there anyone left who felt like they were doing the right thing? The old-timers say the world changed when the bombs fell, that everything got crueler. I don't know. Maybe the bombs fell because people were already that cruel to begin with.
Do you ever think about running away?
Atomic Girl asked. All the time.
Why don't you?
Nowhere to go.
There's gotta be somewhere.
I shrugged my shoulders. Maybe, but if I got there, and that is a big if, who's to say I won't have to run again? I don't think cutting and running is the answer. At least, it's not from me. There are too many things I care about.
Like what?
I turned to her. Like Walter's good charm. Atomic Girl laughed again. That was one of the few things that made me happy anymore, hearing her laugh. But then she turned to me, her smile fading, eyes searching.
I'm serious. Do you honestly think there's anything worth sticking around for?
I shook my head, sighing. Here's the thing. I knew the right answer. It was something I desperately wanted to say. But it couldn't be here, and it couldn't be now. I don't know if I would ever get to say it. But I knew it wouldn't be right unless I had a future I could fight for. Until then, I couldn't promise a damn thing. I think a chance to live our lives the right way. I don't know how. I don't know when. But I think that's worth sticking around for. I remember what Seattle Vance had told me in the armored truck. Learn to say no. Nice advice. About 10 years too late. I pretended to be the rebel, but whatever real fight I had in me burned out a long time ago. Now I was just drifting, just fucking around, waiting for... hell. I didn't even know what anymore. Atomic Girl seemed a bit disappointed by that answer, and to be honest, so was I. But I couldn't lie to her. I've lied so many times, telling people what they needed to hear, what I needed them to believe. I just couldn't do that to her.
How long do you think we have before we need to head back?
She asked suddenly. A few minutes more, I think. Remember, we're supposed to be engaged in passionate lovemaking right now. Atomic Girl giggled, but the smile didn't last.
What are we going to do next?
I didn't quite know what she meant. With our super hobo? No idea. I just hope nobody gets hurt. I don't give a damn about our social media numbers. It's not worth risking a life over. Not even the Blue Justice.
You think Walter would really push it that far? He's always been... vindictive, but that far?
I looked pensively over the skyline, all the neon flicker and decay unsettling. We'll see, I said quietly.